Well, this morning it's obviously Mother's Day, and many of you, I'm sure all of you know that by now. But as you are leaving this morning, we have a gift for you, and we'll just give it to you as you are exiting the sanctuary this morning. But for many of us here, our moms have already passed. And it's kind of hard. No matter how many years it's been, we remember them. This morning, the message that God has laid on my heart is talking about mothers and biblical mothers and the influence that a mother has on the life of their children. But as I was finishing it up yesterday, I was reminded that, you know what? Every single one of us has an influence on those around us. So even as we are looking at mothers today, and specifically speaking of three mothers from the Bible, the reality of what is being shared applies to every single one of us, whether we're a man or a woman, old or young. We have influence. What kind of an influence are you going to be? Some of the things that I came across this week as I was working on this were quite funny, and I wanted to share a few of those with you. Some sayings that mothers have been heard to say, quoted. One mother said, "The joy of motherhood is what a woman experiences when all the children are finally in bed." I know I've heard this one from my wife. When the kids were young, we'd get them to bed at 7 o'clock. Was about the latest they would stay up. And Paula and I would sit down with a cup of coffee, and she just kind of breathed a sigh of relief. So I know this statement is true. Another lady said, a mother talking to an old college friend said, "Remember before I was married, I had 3 theories about raising children. Now I have 3 children and no theories." There's a lot of people that go into parenthood thinking they know what they're going to do. And as soon as that child is born, everything they thought they knew is gone. Here's some things that some children have said about Mom. "Mom, why do you have all those lines on your face? If you have a baby growing in your tummy, what's growing in your bottom? Mom, you have 0 imagination. If Daddy's job is to go to work and my job is to go to school, then what's your job?" Yeah. "I love Daddy way more than you." That one kind of hurts. And the last one, "Mommy, what do you want to be when you grow up?" We all have moms. Some of them are still living. Some of them have passed on. Some of them have been great moms. Maybe some of us have had moms that weren't so great. But we all have moms. Some of us, the person that we call mom, isn't our biological mom, but someone that has stepped into that role and lived it out and loved us. In the Bible, we see a whole lot of moms. We see Eve, the original mom. We see Sarah, the mother of Isaac, Rebekah, the mother of Jacob and Esau, Bathsheba, the mother of Solomon, Jochebed, the mother of Aaron and Moses, and Mary, the mother of Jesus, Elizabeth, the mother of John, just to mention a few. And as we think about these mothers, there's been some that have been really outstanding. Mothers that took a step totally in faith. Think about Moses' mom. All the babies were supposed to have been killed, and yet she took her child and made this basket and put him out into the pond so that he might be saved. And what happened because of her faith? Moses grew up to be a great leader. Moms, they have a lot of influence. So do we all. The first mom that we're going to look at is a mom that had influence that wasn't so good. In Matthew chapter 20, verses 21 through 23, it says, "What is it you want?" he asked, Jesus speaking. She said, "Grant that one of these two sons of mine may sit at your right hand and the other at your left." "You don't know what you're asking," Jesus said to them. "Can you drink the cup I am going to drink?" "We can," they answered. Jesus said to them, "You will indeed drink from my cup, but to sit at my right or my left, it is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they have been made and prepared by my Father." See, moms, they can have an influence towards selfishness. Moms can have a bad influence on their children, no matter what age they are. And here in this little story that we see Jesus interacting with the mom, she's wanting her kids to be elevated to positions that aren't for them. And you might think, well, that's, all moms want their kids to be the best they want them to be. They want them to be better than... But here, this was just out of pure selfishness. At no point were they asking, is this what God would want? But it's what we want, what I want. The other night I was watching TV, and it was one of those nights where there was really nothing on, and I ended up on, I forget what channel, but it was one of those cop shows. And it was this mother and daughter. And mom had taken her daughter to an area so she could prostitute herself. What kind of influence is that mom having? What kind of influence? We all have influence. But what kind are we? Often I've seen parents teaching their kids bad habits. Whether it be with an act that they are doing, or language that is coming out of their mouth, or whatever it is. But guess what? It's not time to bash moms or dads or anyone else. This is just simply a reminder for us that we all have an opportunity to influence those around us. What kind of an influence are you going to be? The next mom that we're going to look at is Mary. the mother of Jesus. And the story that we're looking at here is helping us to realize that moms have an influence or are able to encourage us to do something we think we're not ready to do. The setting for this is Jesus and his disciples and his family are at a wedding. And they've run out of wine. The scripture says in John chapter 2, verses 1 through 10, on the third day of a wedding. Can you imagine a wedding lasting 3 days? I mean, think about how much a wedding costs. They only last a couple hours and everything's done. Can you imagine 3 days into a wedding? On the third day of the wedding took place in Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there. And Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was all gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." "Dear woman, why do you involve me?" Jesus replied, "My time has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding about 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and the cheaper wine after. The guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now." This is Jesus' first miracle. So what we see here is mom taking an active role in kind of pushing her child into the spotlight. Jesus is saying, "Hey, it's not yet my time." But Mary did not take that answer and accept it. She then, right after he gets done telling her this, goes to the servants and says, "Do whatever he tells you to do." Can you kind of see her right behind him, pushing him a little bit? Maybe she's got her thumb in his back. Get going. This is something that needs to be done. You can do it. How often has that happened to us from our mom? I know growing up, my mom quite often would push me to do something I thought I couldn't do. I've seen my wife do that with my children. They would say, "Well, I can't do that." "Well, yeah, you can." Give them that little push. That little push. The influence. Mom drew him into it, bringing him into the ministry. But the other thing that kind of stood out as I read this scripture this week is that Jesus honored his mother. Even though he tried to at first sidestep the issue. He tried to at first not go that direction. He still honored his mother. And in doing so, fulfilling the 5th commandment. Honor your mother and father. He did what his mom requested. Moms can be the greatest cheerleaders for their children. Encouraging them to do better, to be better, to do more than they thought was possible. I remember when we lived in Iowa, one of the big events was tractor pulls. I mean, think about it. We live in farm country, right? There's corn everywhere. Tractor pulls was the big thing. Well, they did their best to get the kids involved in tractor pulls at a little early age with pedal tractors. And we went to this one event, and both Sarah and Joel entered, and they're pedaling like crazy. Mom was on the sideline cheering. But Sarah, she was pedaling, and she was doing really good. And here she's the only girl in her class. And so I got out in front of her, and I kept walking backwards. And I'm looking right at her eyes, and she was staring at me, and I was not yelling, but cheering her on. You can do this. Keep going, keep going. She pulled further than any one other of those kids. And she got off that tractor, and later she said, "Dad, don't ever do that to me again. Don't ever do that to me again." But you see, as a parent, maybe we're not a parent, as somebody that takes an active role in somebody else's life, the encouragement that we can give can help push that person to do so much more than they ever thought possible. Now, granted, it's been several years, but the way I remember it, Sarah pulled a whole lot further than any of the other kids that she pulled against. Encouragement. What kind of person are you? Are you a cheerleader? Are you an encourager? Or are you someone that's kind of standing back taking the negative side? Oh, you can't do it. Why even try? Sarah, you're small. You're smaller than those boys. You can't outpull them. Don't even bother. You'd just be embarrassed. What kind of influence are you having? The third influence that we're going to look at today is generational. Generational influence. And we find this in 2 Timothy. Paul is writing to Timothy, and he's in 2 Timothy chapter 1, verses 3 through 5, he says, "I thank God, whom I serve, as my ancestors did, with a clear conscience as night and day. I constantly remember you in my prayers. Recalling your tears, I long to see you so that I may be filled with joy. As I remember your sincere faith, which first lived in your grandmother, Lois, and in your mother, Eunice, I am persuaded now also lives in you." Generational influence. A faith that started in grandma was passed down to mom and is now down to Timothy, who is in ministry. I can relate to this one. I can go back at least 3 generations. I know my great-grandmother was a praying woman. One of them at least. I think 2. My grandmothers on both sides. And then after my mom passed away, my step-grandmother was a praying woman. My mom. I will never, no matter how long I live, I will never be able to get out of my mind the image of my mom. She was battling biliary cirrhosis. It's a liver disease, and one of the things that made her yellow. If you didn't know she was sick, you would think she had the most awesome tan all the time. But it wasn't a tan. It was the jaundice and this. But she was really sick. spent most of her time just sitting on the couch, laying down on the couch. But almost every time I come into the house, if she didn't have her Bible in her lap, it was right there on a stand beside her. Spending time in the Word. Praying for my sister and me. And after I got married, praying for my wife. The generational influence. Maybe you're sitting here today and you haven't had that. Maybe you're sitting here today and you don't have any history that you know of with relatives that are Christians. Maybe it's starting with you. That's okay too. You could be the start of that generational influence. Timothy was where he was because of the influence of his mother and his grandmother. It's a sincere faith. Well, what does sincere mean? Sincere means proceeding from genuine feelings, heartfelt, deep, profound. Maybe you're here today and you've come to Christ just recently and it started a new thing. But you can have influence going forward on your family. Unfortunately, we all know that sometimes it skips generations too. There's times where people have been raised in the church and they choose to leave. Walk away from that relationship with you. But that doesn't mean that the influence that you've had is all for naught. God still works. God still moves in people's lives. I just feel blessed that I had a mom and a grandma and a grandma and a grandma and a great-grandma that loved the Lord so much that they were constantly praying for their children, living a life that was sold out to Christ. What kind of influence are you? What kind of influence are you? Maybe you don't have any kids that you can be an influence that are your own. What about your coworkers? What about those that you come in contact with at the grocery store? You can either be a positive influence or a negative influence. It all comes down to what you say and how you act. But if you're truly a believer in Jesus Christ, if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, then you cannot help but to fall underneath the commandment that God has given since the beginning, to be holy as I am holy. As a follower of Jesus Christ, that commandment falls on us. The scripture that we were looking at in Sunday school this morning, it's 1 Peter said that you're supposed to be holy in everything you do. That means in your influence as well. It's the way that you are influencing others. Honoring God. What will it be? Positive or negative? Because that generational influence goes on year after year, either positive or negative. One last little story. One day a little girl was sitting and watching her mother do the dishes at the kitchen sink, and she suddenly noticed that her mother had several strands of white hair sticking out in contrast to her brunette head of hair. "Why are some of your hairs white, Mom?" she asked her mother. Her mother replied, "Well, every time you do something wrong and make me cry or unhappy, one of my hairs turns white." The little girl pondered this for a while and then asked, "So how come all of Grandma's hairs are white?" Things that I think we should say to our mom. There's times we really need to say to Mom, "You're right." One of the things that my mom constantly told me was that walking with the Lord is the right path. There's going to be ups and downs, but He's never going to let you down. To that, I want to say to my mom, "You are right. I've been walking with the Lord for over 20 years, and I have proven that my mom is right." Something else I think we should tell our mom. I know I want to tell my mom, "You're a great mom." There was a time in my life where I was walking away from the Lord. And many of you have heard my testimony. You know that I gotten quite deep into alcohol and never into drugs, but alcohol was enough. My mom loved me. She never condoned, she never approved of what I was doing. But she loved me. And at one point, she even went so far as I'd come home drunk and I'd thrown up. And she hauled me out of bed. And she said, "I promised God I was never going to clean up after a drunken husband. I'm definitely not going to clean up after a drunken son." And made me get out of bed and clean up my own mess. Love. She loved me. I want to tell my mom, thank you. Thank you for all you've done for me. Thank you for living a godly life in front of me. Teaching me that spending time in God's Word is beneficial for me, for my own growth. I think I should have listened to her more. If I would have listened to her more at an early age, I know there's a lot of things I would have avoided that caused me pain. But I think the most important thing that any of us can say to our mom is, "I love you." Whether our moms are still with us today or not, we still can express that love. What kind of influence are you doing? This week as we go out into the world and we spend time with people, some of which don't know the Lord at all. What kind of influence are we doing? Let's stand to close. Lord, today, as we've spent time in your Word, we've looked at several different moms, and Lord, it's Yes, it's a challenge for those that are moms, but Lord, it's a challenge for each and every one of us. We have influence in people's lives. Lord, I pray that you would help us be more like Mary and in unison, not so much like the other mom that showed a selfishness. Lord, I pray that you would help us to love and reach out more and influence through your love. Lord, I thank you for my mom. I thank you for the mother of my children. And Lord, I pray that you would continue to raise up godly women in my life. Lord, today, we give you all the glory, and we praise you for who you are. Amen.